She waved at me. That's the part that keeps replaying in my head. Not the cheating, not the café, not the fact that his hand was on hers. It was the way she smiled and waved like we were neighbors running into each other at the mailbox. Like I wasn't her husband. Like I was nothing. And maybe I am. I was 3 feet away. I wasn't hiding. I wasn't sneaking. I wasn't even supposed to be there. I was only inside because I'd gotten a nosebleed in the middle of the street and ducked into the first place I saw. My face was still blotchy and red. I had tissues shoved up my nostrils. She saw all that. And she still smiled. Still waved. Still kept holding his hand. I didn't say a word. I walked to the counter, grabbed a napkin, and wrote one sentence in blue ink with shaking fingers. I tore the paper clean, walked up to her table, and slid it right next to her untouched cappuccino. Then I walked out. She didn't chase me. She didn't text. She didn't even react. She tapped the napkin with her fingernail, like she was checking to see if the ink had dried, then returned to her conversation, giggling, nodding, leaning in. Her fingers never left his. I sat in my car for 10 minutes with a paper towel stuffed up my nose and the note I'd written repeating in my head like a chant. Don't come home. Not tonight. Not ever. I wish that had been the end. I wish she'd taken the note and vanished. But that night, she did come home. And what she brought with her turned my life into something I still can't describe without wanting to scream. At 10:43 p.m., I heard the key in the lock. She was humming. I was sitting on the floor in the dark, still in the same clothes I wore to work, staring at the door like it owed me an explanation. The candle I'd bought earlier was on the coffee table, still sealed. Her favorite blanket, the one she used when she was sick or pretending to be, was folded on the couch where I'd put it that morning before any of this had happened. And she walked in like it was just another Tuesday. Hey, she said casually, slipping off her shoes like nothing was wrong. Why are the lights off? No panic. No guilt. Not even confusion. Just that same breezy, too calm voice she used when she'd come home late and claimed traffic. She dropped her bag on the floor, stretched her arms, and actually yawned. I didn't speak. I thought maybe if I stayed quiet long enough, the weight of the silence would choke her into honesty. It didn't. She walked past me, and into the kitchen, opened the fridge, poured herself orange juice, drank straight from the bottle. I watched her wipe her mouth with the back of her hand. Then she leaned on the counter and said it. So, are you going to tell me what that note was about? That note. As if it were some cryptic post I left on the mirror instead of a lifeline I had to rip out of my own chest. I stood up slowly. My knees cracked. My back ached. I hadn't moved in hours. I looked at her, really looked, and I searched her face for even the tiniest crack. A twitch, a wince, a smirk slipping. But she was unreadable. You were with someone, I finally said. At La Percha. I saw you. She blinked. Nothing else. Not even a gasp. Then she had the nerve to smile. Oh, she said, and sipped her juice again. That. Like I'd caught her jaywalking. Like it was nothing. I wanted to scream. I wanted to punch a wall, flip a table, collapse on the floor, and cry until it stopped hurting. But I just stood there, fingers twitching, jaw clenched, asking, who is he? She shrugged. Just someone I've been talking to. You wouldn't know him. The room started spinning. I sat back down because standing made my teeth buzz. How long? Does it matter? That's when something in me cracked. Not loud, not dramatic. It was soft, like a thread snapping somewhere deep inside my chest. I looked at the woman I married, the one I thought I still knew, and I realized she hadn't come home to fix anything. She came home because she didn't care if it was broken. But that wasn't the worst part. The worst part is what she asked me next, and I swear, I will never forget the way her voice sounded when she said it. So, are you going to sleep on the couch, or should I? I didn't answer her. I didn't even look at her. She stood there, waiting for my response like this was some sitcom misunderstanding that could be fixed with a snappy one-liner and a laugh track. When I didn't speak, she sighed, actually sighed, and walked past me again, this time toward the bedroom. She paused at the hallway. You know, you overreact to everything, she said flatly. It's exhausting. I thought I was beyond being hurt. But that still stung. I waited until I heard the door shut behind her before I moved. My hands were shaking, but not with rage, with something more pathetic. Shame, maybe. The kind of shame that builds up when you realize you've been the only one trying for way too long. Her purse was still by the door, and I don't know what came over me. Maybe I wanted to confirm what I already knew. Maybe I hoped I was wrong. Maybe I was just desperate to find something, anything, that made this all make sense. So I opened it. There was the usual: keys, wallet, gum, half a granola bar wrapped in a napkin. But wedged between her planner and a small cosmetic bag was something that didn't belong. A folded piece of thick paper. I pulled it out. It was a reservation slip. For a hotel. Suite 407. The Sharon, 6 p.m., private dinner and bottle service. Dated today. I just stared at it. My fingers were slick with sweat. My stomach was churning. There was a scribble at the bottom in someone else's handwriting. A note. Don't be late this time, winking face. I dropped the paper like it burned. I backed away from the bag, closed it like it was radioactive, and sat back on the couch. My breathing felt loud in the quiet room. Too loud. Too alive. She hadn't just gone for coffee. This had been planned. Reserved. Repeated. Don't be late this time. So there had been a last time. And a time before that. God knows how many. I heard the bedroom door creak. She walked back in wearing one of my t-shirts like she always did before bed, as if this was just another night, in just another week of just another year. Her eyes flicked toward the bag. I saw the exact moment she realized I'd opened it. And I saw something else too. Not fear. Not guilt. Amusement. She sat across from me on the couch and curled her legs under her like she was settling in for a rom-com. You went through my things, she said with a little smile. That's new. I didn't speak. I couldn't. My voice was buried under 100 silent screams I didn't know how to let out. Then she leaned in and said something I still haven't figured out the meaning of. Well, I guess it's your turn now. My turn? What did she mean? I never got to ask. Because my phone buzzed on the table, and what I saw on the screen nearly made me drop it. A message. From an unknown number. She's not who you think she is. Check your back porch. I don't remember standing up. I don't remember walking to the back door. I just remember that cold metal handle pressing into my palm, and the way my other hand was shaking so badly I couldn't get a grip at first. I opened the door slowly, like I was afraid something would jump out. And for a second, I wished something would, just so this would all become simple. So I could blame it on fear or danger or anything besides this knot of confusion inside my ribs. It was quiet outside. The motion light blinked on, buzzing faintly. And then I saw it. A box. Small. Plain. Taped shut. No label. Sitting right in the center of the back porch like someone had placed it with intent. Like someone wanted me to find it. I glanced back inside. She hadn't followed me. She was still on the couch, scrolling through her phone like we weren't both standing on top of a crumbling world. I crouched, peeled the tape off carefully. The cardboard was damp with dew. My fingers left sweaty smudges on the top. I opened the flaps. And froze. Inside was a plastic bag. Sealed. Transparent. And in that bag, a single item, a flash drive. Black. No markings. No keychain. Just a clean, anonymous rectangle. There was also a small folded note. Not typed. Not printed. Handwritten in tight, even letters. Watch this when she's asleep. Wear headphones. Don't let her see. I stood there for a full minute with my heart thudding so loud I was sure she could hear it. I looked out into the backyard. Nothing but shadows and silence. I turned the note over. Blank. It suddenly felt like the world was tilting sideways. Like I'd stepped into a version of my life I didn't remember agreeing to. I went back inside slowly, the flash drive clenched in my palm. She looked up at me briefly, then back down at her phone, completely unfazed. She didn't even ask what I was holding. That terrified me more than if she had. An hour later, she announced she was going to bed early. Long day, she said, yawning like she'd actually done something exhausting besides ruin my existence. She kissed my forehead. Forehead. Like I was a child. Or worse. Like I was already fading from her world. Once the bedroom door shut, I waited 10 minutes. Then I plugged the drive into my laptop. It took a moment to load. Just one file. A video. No title. No timestamp. No metadata. I put on headphones. I clicked play. And what I saw made me stop breathing. Because the man in the video wasn't just her mystery friend. It was someone I knew. Someone I never would have expected. And she was saying things about me that made my skin crawl. But that wasn't the worst part. The worst part was that the video was filmed inside our house. In our living room. In my chair. While I was at work. And then, she looked into the camera. Not like she had been recorded secretly. Not caught. She looked straight into it. Smiled. whispered something. And when I replayed it, turned the volume up, isolated the words, I realized what she had said. He's not ready yet, but he will be. I didn't sleep that night. Not even a minute. I sat at the kitchen table with the laptop open, headphones still around my neck, replaying that video over and over again until the screen felt like it was burning into my eyes. The man in the video, I'll call him Kellen, had been to our house before. Twice, maybe 3 times. Always for book club or some other excuse she made up when I asked why someone like him, polished, smug, always overdressed, was parking outside our home. I used to think he looked out of place in our neighborhood. Now I know why. But it wasn't just the footage that haunted me. It was her body language. The ease. The familiarity. Like this wasn't a fling. This was established. Practiced. Built over time in silence. She wasn't caught. She was participating. And that final whisper, he's not ready yet. But he will be. What did that even mean? Was I part of some plan? A joke? Was I a pawn in something I didn't even understand yet? At 4:13 a.m., I heard a creak from the hallway. I snapped the laptop shut like I was doing something wrong. I stuffed the flash drive in my pocket. My heart pounded so hard it hurt. She walked in, rubbing her eyes. Hair messy. No makeup. Just a t-shirt and tired expression. You're still up? She asked, voice soft. I nodded. She glanced at the closed laptop. Working on something? I shook my head. Couldn't sleep. She smiled faintly. You've always been bad at shutting your brain off. Then she did something that made my blood run cold. She walked over, leaned down, and kissed the top of my head. Her lips were warm, familiar, intimate, and she whispered, You'll feel better in the morning. It was the same tone she used in the video. That same rehearsed gentleness. Like she was playing a role. Like she knew I had watched it. She padded back to the bedroom like it was nothing. Like I wasn't a man unraveling one string at a time. The moment she was gone, I opened the laptop again. Checked the flash drive folder. It was empty. The video file was gone. I didn't delete it. I didn't touch it. And yet, it was just gone. No recycle bin. No logs. No nothing. Like it had never existed. I checked every folder. Every scan. Nothing. And then the screen flickered. Just for a second. A single black flash. Like the whole display blinked. When it came back, my desktop background had changed. It used to be a photo of us in Colorado. On a hike we took when things still felt real. That was gone. In its place, a plain gray screen. And at the center, 3 words. Don't confront her. I slammed the lid shut like it could undo what I'd seen. I didn't breathe for maybe a full minute. Then I did something I never thought I'd do. I grabbed a duffel bag. I packed only what I could fit. Wallet, charger, socks, the shirt my dad gave me on my wedding day. I left the candle on the counter. I opened the front door. And she was standing there. In her coat. Keys in her hand. Smiling. Going somewhere? She asked. She was already dressed. Coat on. Purse over her shoulder. Lipstick. The deep red she only wore when she wanted control of a room. Perfectly applied. She didn't look surprised to see the bag in my hand. She didn't even glance at it. She just smiled like we were heading to brunch. Like I hadn't just discovered a video of her sitting in my chair whispering things that made my spine go cold. You forgot your shoes, she said sweetly, and stepped aside so I could walk back in. I didn't move. Not because I didn't want to, because I couldn't. Something about the way she said it, like it wasn't a suggestion. Like I wasn't going anywhere unless she allowed it. Where are you going? I asked. She tilted her head, confused. We have a reservation. I blinked. What? At the Sharon, she said. Suite 407. That was the same room number from the reservation slip I found in her purse. The one meant for her and him. The one dated yesterday. But she was saying it like it was still happening. Like we had plans, together. You made the reservation, she added, gently, like she was reminding a child of something he forgot. It was your idea, remember? I could barely form words. That wasn't for us. She laughed. Soft. Not mocking. Not hysterical. Just patient. Of course it was, she said. You wanted to fix things. You said you were ready. I took a step back. I never said that. She didn't blink. Didn't move. You will. And then she said something I still can't explain, something that didn't belong in any normal conversation. You passed the test. The air left my lungs like I'd been punched. My ears rang. I didn't even notice I was holding onto the doorframe until I realized my knuckles were white from gripping it. What test? I asked, voice cracking. She stepped forward. I flinched. But she didn't touch me. She just reached into her purse and pulled something out. A folded sheet of paper. She handed it to me. Inside was a list of names. I recognized 3. One was mine. Next to each name were 2 columns. Submission and severance. Mine had a check mark in only one of them. Severance. I looked back up. Her smile had vanished. I was hoping you'd choose differently, she whispered. And then she turned and walked out the front door without closing it behind her. I stood in that entryway, holding the list, staring into the empty street, feeling the walls around me hum with something I couldn't name. I didn't chase her. I didn't call anyone. I sat down on the floor next to the open door and waited for the sun to rise. But it never did, because when I looked out the window the next morning, the neighborhood wasn't the same. It took me exactly 7 minutes to realize something was wrong with the neighborhood. Not wrong in a dramatic, horror movie kind of way. There were no fires, no shadows creeping, no vanishing people. Just small things, off things, impossible things. The kind of details you'd only notice if you'd lived somewhere long enough to memorize every crack in the sidewalk, every overgrown hedge, every neighbor's routine. The first thing I saw was Mr. Carson's truck. A rusted green Ford that hadn't moved in 2 years. Except now it was gone. Replaced by a black Audi I'd never seen before. I thought maybe he finally sold it. Until I noticed something else. The oak tree across the street, the one with the warped trunk and split bark, was completely straight. As if it had grown differently, or hadn't been damaged in last winter's storm. The mailbox at 38 Birch used to be tilted and duct-taped. Now it was standing like it was just installed yesterday. But the final straw, the moment my breath caught in my chest, was the woman walking her dog. It was Mrs. Hill, same blue windbreaker, same floppy hat, same limp from her bad knee. But the dog? Not Max. Max was a golden retriever. Lazy, slow, always limping beside her. This dog was a Doberman. I stepped back from the window. My hands were sweating. My heart had found a rhythm that wasn't quite panic, but definitely wasn't calm. I grabbed my phone. Tried to call my brother. No service. I checked the Wi-Fi. Connected. But the network name had changed. It used to be our Internet 420. My dumb joke. Now it was just called Hosted 407. Suite 407. The same room. The same number. Again. I tried logging into my email. Password rejected. Every account. Denied. Locked out. Forgotten. I opened my laptop again, desperate to find anything that still made sense. A file. A message. Even the gray screen would have been comforting. Instead, the moment it powered on, it launched a full-screen window. A live stream. Of me. Sitting in my own living room. I looked up. There was no camera. Not that I could see. But the feed was perfect. Crisp. Real-time. Then the screen flickered, and words appeared. Compliance earns comfort. Questions earn chaos. I slammed the laptop shut and nearly threw it across the room. I started pacing, whispering to myself like an idiot, asking questions I had no answers to. Was this her? Was this still about her? Had she been part of something bigger? Or was I losing it completely? And then, as if summoned by my unraveling, the front door opened. Not knocked. Not rang. Opened. She walked in. Same coat. Same lipstick. Not a hair out of place. Like no time had passed. She didn't even look surprised to see me spiraling. She walked over to the couch, sat down, crossed her legs, and patted the cushion beside her. It's almost over, she said gently. I don't even know what this is, I said, my voice cracking. She looked at me the way you might look at a frightened child. It's just the final step, she said. You've done so well. You didn't run. You didn't resist. You passed the test. I dropped the list from earlier onto the coffee table. Why is my name under severance? She smiled. But there was something dead in her eyes now. Because you were never going to leave, were you? I didn't answer. She leaned in, her voice a whisper. Ready to finish it? Before I could speak, there was a loud knock at the door. Not gentle, not curious. It was forceful, rhythmic, and it didn't stop. The knocking didn't stop. It wasn't angry. It wasn't impatient. It was calculated, deliberate. 3 beats. A pause. 3 more. And again, like a code I didn't know how to break. I turned to her. She wasn't flinching, wasn't confused, just watching me quietly, calmly, as if this was all part of something she'd already rehearsed in her head. Maybe it was. Maybe I was always the last to know. I stared at the door. Every instinct in my body told me not to open it. Not because I thought something would jump out, but because I already knew what was on the other side. A decision. And I'd already made too many of those under someone else's rules. So instead, I turned away from the door, walked past her, toward the side of the living room, toward the window. She stood slowly behind me. "What are you doing?" she asked, voice still even, still rehearsed. I didn't answer. I picked up the chair beside the bookshelf, the one my father gave me, the one I never used because it creaked too much. And I threw it. Straight through the window. Glass shattered into the lawn like sparks. Cold morning air blasted in. A bird shrieked and took off from the neighbor's roof. Somewhere in the distance, a car alarm blared. She flinched. "Finally." "You can't leave like this," she said sharply, the calm cracking. "It's not done yet." I turned around slowly. I saw it now. Her hands were shaking. I stepped back toward the broken window. "No," I said. "It is." And I climbed through. No shoes. No plan. No idea where I was going. Just the crunch of glass under my feet, the wind in my face, and a growing silence behind me. No one followed. No one tried to stop me. The street outside, for the first time in what felt like forever, looked normal. A child riding a bike. Someone walking a golden retriever, not a Doberman. Mailboxes crooked, grass overgrown. The world messy and unpredictable again. Real. I walked. I don't know how far. Hours, maybe. Eventually, I found a diner on the edge of a highway. I walked in, ordered pancakes with cash from my wallet, and sat in a booth near the window, watching the sun come up. The waitress asked if I was okay. I lied and said yes. Then I pulled a napkin from the dispenser, wrote a single sentence. I walked away. It felt like enough. For now. It's been 3 months since I left. The flash drive never reappeared. My account slowly came back online. The Wi-Fi reset itself. My name disappeared from the list. I checked. I don't know how, but it did. I rented a small apartment above a bookstore. Got a job fixing antique clocks. It's quiet work. I like the ticking. It reminds me that time moves forward, no matter what people try to do to bend it. As for her, she called once. I didn't answer. She never tried again. Sometimes, I still wonder what would have happened if I'd opened that door. But most days, I don't. Most days, I'm just grateful I found the window.